What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Damon Speaks show. This is episode 6. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting me. I have been feeling a lot of support in the last day or so. My little cousin, Kayla Rue Otis, is missing. She lives on the east side of Detroit, and her mom said that she went out to take the trash out and just never made it back in the house. You'll see a post on my social media, on my Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you see my post, please share it. If you have friends or family in Detroit, please share the post. Please ask your friends. And if you have any information, please give it to the Detroit police. You can always reach out to me. I'll make sure that I get it to her mom, to her family. But I just wanted to make sure that I said thank you for the people that have reached out, for the people that have shared, for all the prayers and all the love that we've been receiving. We really appreciate it. We're praying for her safety. We're praying that she comes back home unharmed. This is something that I never expected to go through. You know, I never expected my family. You see it online all the time, but I never expected us to be going through something like this. However, my heart is hopeful because I've seen time and time again the magic of social media, the magic of awareness, and a lot of people have been saved from dire situations, and a lot of people have come home safely. So thank you for the prayers. Thank you for the shares. Keep them coming. Outside of that, this week I've been thinking about forgiveness. Last week I had Ryan Grace on the show. It was a great show. We had a fantastic time. He was talking about forgiveness and how it's not always necessary. And when I was thinking about that topic, I started to think about making mistakes. We are going to make mistakes. When I was a waiter working in Harlem, I started to really enjoy my job when I realized you're going to mess up somebody's order. Not everybody is going to be happy with you. So when I was able to be a little bit more free and to realize, honestly, that I was going to fuck up, I was able to enjoy my life as a waiter a little bit more, and that spilled over into my personal life. So if you're struggling with something that you've done in the past, if you're struggling with a thought that you've had, if you're struggling because you feel like what you've done is unforgivable and you're looking for forgiveness from other people, give yourself a little bit of grace. Give yourself a little bit of love, and things will get a little bit better. Here on the Damon Speaks show for the last few weeks, since the relaunch, we've been talking about mental health. And I am so grateful to have Mr. Mansa Musa that's going to come on in a few minutes and talk about a little bit about his mental health journey. And we're going to talk a little bit about money, because money is important. And money, listen, is affected. Money and mental health go together sometimes. So anyway, it's my great pleasure to introduce you all to Mansa Musa. Good evening, sir.
Hello, how are you?
How's it going?
All is well.
All is well. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm the father of Anwar. I know he's been on your show. That's how you and I know each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 70-year-old black male born in Washington, D.C. Went to kindergarten at a segregated school. Brown versus Board of Education happened, and my first grade beyond, we left D.C., I think when I was in the third grade or fifth grade or something, but was integrated schools. So, and then came up through, I was 18 during Vietnam, had to, at that time you could, they were sending black boys to die over there. And there was a draft.
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately, my dad was a chemist for the government in the space program. My mom was a teacher, so we were a solid middle-class family. College was an expectation. I went to college. If you stayed in college, you got a 4S student deferment, which kept my black ass out of the Army. which is why I have a master's degree. Because you just kept going to school.
What did
Now,
you see?
during that time, they came up with the draft lottery, which is in effect now. You have one, but because we're a volunteer force now, it really doesn't have the impact that it did. But that day, on lottery day, there was a national televised program, and they were picking these numbers, man. It was like a lottery. And they reach in. I don't know whether it was a ping pong ball or whatever, but they get it, the lot, and they read a birth date, June 29th or whatever. And I was sitting in the men's dorm at the University of Cincinnati with a bunch of other guys, white folk, black folk, just we're all draft age, right? This is during the anti-war and all of that. And where your number fell was, where your birthday fell was a source of great joy or great pain. And my birthday came out 300 and something. So I was golden, brother. They had to get all them other folk before they came to me. Plus, I had my 4S deferment.
So you were good.
Yeah, well, you do what you have to do. Just like now, you know, if you want to survive, you wear a mask.
Y'all hear that? Wear your mask.
Because they're sending your black ass out there to die.
Well,
just like Vietnam, right?
Well,
I mean, we're the so-called essential workers.
mm-hmm.
We're the ones die. I mean, being measured, but if I was a conspiracy brother, kind of, I would say this was genocide.
Mm.
We're dying at a rate 2-to-1, and the president is spreading this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That you or me?
That's me.
Okay.
Well, sorry about that.
And we know he don't like black folk.
Uh-huh.
So the fact that black folk are dying is okay with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're the majority. I said the majority, which means more than half of them 260,000 people that are dead from COVID. And y'all in New York are more aware of this than I am.
Now it's really spreading around the country, though. A lot of other places are getting hit super hard. Our numbers are creeping up, but like not as bad as some other places now. Like we got hit hard first.
Well, that's my point. The price that New York paid, the tuition that you guys paid, the lessons that were learned from lives lost, from experience gained, has meant nothing. Mm-hmm. This crisis should not be still going on. This should have been beat back in June. Mm-hmm. But I digress. Speaking of mental health, let me tell you this. I am in therapy. I have been, probably for a couple of years now. My son talked me into it. In my generation, if you were crazy if you needed, I mean, that was a pejorative. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want to talk to somebody about help, you don't do that. I mean, as a black person, you don't do that, and you damn sure don't do that as a man. Mm-hmm. And the question I have was this: how can you be a black man in America and not be crazy?
Well.
Seriously.
I mean, honestly, truly.
Really? Honestly, I mean, that's for black women too, right? Mm-hmm. How is it possible? Our very survival skills are mental pathologies. And here was the thing for me. So if it's impossible not to be crazy, right? It's impossible to be black in America and not be crazy, right? So how does that come out? The problem is all that unresolved stuff, and in men, it's generally expresses itself as anger, right? Unresolved issues express themselves as anger, and they come out and hurt the people closest to us.
Closest.
It's not intentional.
Mm.
Right? But when the volcano erupts, it really don't matter who's around.
Mm.
And if you don't go deal with that, then you're going to hurt somebody you love. And I don't necessarily mean physically beat somebody up. I just mean not being the best person that you can be for the person that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Or people, family. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Not being at rest or at comfort with yourself. And these things come up in ways. I mean, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. Don't even play one on TV. But I just know that you got to get that stuff up out of you. Bill Burr, the comedian, I think it was on his latest Netflix special. He talks about how men deal with emotion. And he had this dog. He'd had it for a long time. I mean, it was a pet. He got married. They had a child. The dog didn't really react well to the child. One of them had to go. Of course, the dog had to go. And, they made the arrangements to get the dog adopted, And he said every day his wife cried a little bit. He didn't. And then when they came to get the dog and took it away, he had all this emotion. I mean, because this dog, he had the dog before he had his family. So he said, what happened? You just put that stuff in a jar and you put it on the shelf in your heart. That was the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the bit, he talks about the fact that he's married now. And as a husband, obviously, he is the problem. Obviously.
Listen, stuff happens when you put that stuff away. You don't deal with it.
Well, no, he's saying just as a trust me, I've been married since 1972, I think. So you do the math, 48, 49.
Woo.
It was with her 5 years before that. Now, we didn't live together and all that stuff like folk do now, but but yeah, he's saying that just when your wife comes and talks to you, and then she'll say, well, where did that come from? If you don't react right. That was the beginning of the story. The end of the story is when you take that stuff and bottle it up like he did for that dog and put it in his heart, it comes out.
Absolutely.
And that's where that came from. It has nothing to do with what's happening here right now.
Yes.
But that's where that came from.
Yes.
So
let me ask you this. Did you guys, your dad was a chemist.
Yeah.
Highly educated. Did mental health issues ever come up as a conversation at dinner, or were there things that were just kind of known?
Oh, yeah. Well, if it came up, it was, if I have to take you to a psychiatrist, or that's a punishment, man, you're crazy. Well, something, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't running to doctors. You wasn't running to and let's face it, unfortunately, mental health, excuse me, like all health, is a function of how much money you have in America.
Talk about it.
If thank God I have Medicare. God bless America. You better do that. I don't know. What was that key of X? Somewhere near in the neighborhood of X. So,
oh Lord.
But and listen, Medicare is universal health care. Let me tell you, when I turned 65, I was in a tough financial situation. But after not having insurance for a number of years prior to that, because this is pre-Obamacare now, getting Medicare gave me a sense of security that changed my life for me and my wife. Having health insurance, knowing that you're covered, it takes away a big sense of insecurity in your life, because up until then, I can't afford to get sick.
And what kind of pressure is that putting on you, like mentally?
Well, right. I'm just saying that's the way it is for everybody. I mean, that's the biggest source of bankruptcy in America. You couldn't afford to be sick. My wife had a brain aneurysm, 10 neurosurgery. She's fine. She came out of it. She was under care in convalescence, all of that. This was a 2-year-old deal. You used to come over to the house, and when we had our praise gatherings and sang for us and all of that during that period. And now we were delivered from that situation miraculously, both her physical health as well as financially. She was in ICU for a couple of months or something. I don't remember all the details now, but it was a long time. The first bill I got from the hospital, the first bill was $675,000. $675,000. I turned it over to the Lord, and He paid it all. I did not pay one dime of her entire stay. And I was unemployed at the time without insurance.
So let's go back just a little bit. When she had this episode where this brain aneurysm thing happened, it was a day just like any other day. Had she had any previous medical history, or was it just like...
Nope. I was home. She came up, because I said I think I was unemployed at the time. My wife is tough. Let me say that. She don't complain about nothing. You have to elicit stuff from her. She came upstairs and she said, I got a headache. And she laid down on the bed and she says, it really hurts. I said, do you want me to call an ambulance? And she said, yes. And when she said that, I knew she needed help, because like I said, she's not the type that complains. So it came out of nowhere. I later found out her family had some, the females in her family had episodes of something similar or whatever. But listen, God came in. We're Bible believing, full gospel Christians. Not necessarily what's preached. I said Bible believing. And here's the thing. As a man, I was invulnerable. Talking about a young man. You're an 18, 20-year-old man. You know, my mother used to say, you're smelling yourself now. you know, you're invincible. You're invulnerable. And who gives a? It's you.
Mm-hmm.
You get a wife. Now you got more responsibilities, right? It's something that you took on. But hey, she's young, you're young. If something happens, start over,
Right.
no big deal. Then your daughter shows up. That's when you realize this is beyond you, right? I mean, there's another life that you are really responsible for. This is a baby. I mean, once again, the wife can go make it on her own, so to speak, but
Right.
not a kid, right? So that's when I reached out for help to a higher power because I knew I couldn't do that, bring up a kid on my own. I mean,
Prior to that, did you have a concept? Were you raised in church or like with the concept of a higher power or anything like that?
I was raised in the Black Episcopalian middle class bourgeois church of Washington, D.C. That was more of a fashion show than anything else. My dad went for a while. My dad was just, I guess the right word, if I had known the definition, would be iconoclast.
Hmm.
He was just a pioneer, and I mean, the life he lived in the era that he came up. He was born in 23.
Hmm.
It was not good for Black people. Not that it's good now, but it was a whole lot less gooder back then.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's where I was brought up. So it was all form, not function. I came to the Lord uh, just by, I'm going to tell you what caught my attention. Now, this is old school Detroit.
Come on, old school Detroit.
There was a Black preacher on television with an afro on channel 62 walking in front of a bunch of flowers. You know who I'm talking about? Fred Price.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Fred Price. And they have this saying. They say, different preachers bring the gospel differently. It's like how they serve food. One might bring it very elegantly, like a French chef. One might bring it barbecued or sauteed, stir fried. He said, Fred, just throw the meat on there raw. He just puts it right out there. And the thing that got me was Fred said, if all God can do is help you in the by and by, what good is it? What good is he to you now?
Hmm.
The Lord loves you. He cares about your life. So learn how to intervene or have him intervene in your life. See, the reason my wife got well is because we knew how to activate the power of God on purpose. You can activate God in your life on purpose
What
if
did that
you
look
know
like?
what you're doing.
What did that look like?
Well, it depends on the situation and the circumstance. Number one, you've got to have a relationship with the Lord, and that relationship steps up the more needy you are. I mean, during that period of time, we had gifts of the Spirit actually operate in our lives. I mean, I can testify to this as a known fact. It's not what I believe. This is what I know. This is what I've
This is
experienced.
what you lived.
Right. I
Okay.
mean, I was operating at times with the gift, what they call the gift of special faith, right? Which is faith above and beyond your faith. You need faith to access God. That's how the connection is made, right? And sometimes you need faith above yourself. And I was able to operate in that gift at times. How do I know? Because I know looking back on it, I know that wasn't me talking. Man, listen, I got the phone call that said in the middle of the night that said, if you want to see your wife alive for the last time, you need to get down there to the hospital right now. Now, my kids were teenagers. I think my daughter was a senior, junior going on senior, and my son's a couple years behind her. We got up, we went to the hospital. When we got there was a team of doctors or medical professionals, with the white coats and stuff, nurses surrounding her ICU bed. They had the defibrillator machine there, and she had been in there for a while. She had had the surgery. They had induced her in a coma to help her body rest and everything. And when I got there, they said, we got to take her out of this coma. It's doing her more harm than good right now. And there's nothing else that we can do. And I said, good. God's finally got you out of the way. Now he can move. Now, Bernard, I'm telling you, that's what I said. But looking back, that's special faith operating. So then I said to the doctors, I said, what is the issue? What is the critical issue here? They said it's her blood pressure. We can't get her blood pressure up. So my daughter, and my son, we went to the family lounge and we prayed specifically for God to move her blood pressure. Before that happened, the doctors had left. The family was there around her bed. Me, my son, and my daughter. We were praying. And my daughter said, let's get out of here because we keep watching the monitor. Beep, beep, beep. You got that going in ICU, right? And we're watching the blood pressure. Now, basic Bible, we walk by faith, not by sight. So we got out of there. We went and prayed. We specifically targeted our prayer to moving her blood pressure. It moved, and we did that. We walked her through her recovery every step of the way. What is the next issue after blood pressure? What is this issue? That is how you activate your faith on purpose. You broke? Don't spend your last dollar, give it away. If you're a tither, you can never be broke, but you got to know how to tithe correctly. It ain't just about giving some preacher your money. It's about establishing a covenant with God and then activating the covenant. Contracts don't work until somebody activates it. And I don't want to run on, but
you know what I'm really interested in? Your son and I are best friends, and I want to know what it was like for you, for your son to come and say, Dad, I think that you should go to therapy. Were you taken aback? Were you offended? Did you know it was time? Had you been thinking about it? What was that situation?
Fuck, I was depressed. He said that. I wasn't happy. Things weren't right. It's, I didn't feel, I was depressed, period. And I've been depressed before in my life. You know, depression's an ugly thing because when you're depressed, you can know what to do, but you just can't do it, which
Mhm.
then makes you more depressed because you knew what to do, but you didn't do it. So, I mean, really, you can help depression just by getting up and walking outside. Seriously,
Truly.
just get out the house, get in the sun. But if you're really depressed, you can't even do that.
Mhm.
I used to be a foreclosure intervention counselor, try to help people save their homes.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, put them in
Oh,
the
I'm sorry. Was
comments.
it like a cough button? Was I supposed to say something? Or I'm sorry. I have no broadcast etiquette.
Well, here on the Damon Speaks Show, it's not about broadcast etiquette. I just really love having conversations with people about their lives and their experiences. So it's all good.
Where were we?
You were a foreclosure
Intervention counselor.
intervention counselor.
Yeah, and I work with a lot. Look, losing your house can depress you. I mean, you lost your job. That's why you're losing your house. You know, it takes you months to lose your house. Everything you can do hasn't worked. And now here comes the bank
Mhm,
sending you pay or get out notices. You know, I've
mhm,
dealt with a lot of depressed people once again. Same type thing. Know what to do, but can't do it.
mhm.
Can't do it. So, yeah. So, yeah, he said, you know, you're depressed. He mentioned some things about it. He says, you're not the fun guy that I grew up with. You know, you need to fix that. Go
I'm
get some
sure it
help.
took courage on his part to say that to his dad. Or did you guys always have that relationship where he could just say, "Dad, I think you're going through this."
Well, we have an adult relationship. I mean, we're honest. You know, he can say what he wants to say with respect.
Mhm.
I mean, he does that anyway, right? I've earned the respect,
Yeah.
right? So, but you know, but yeah, we can talk freely and like family. If you fuck up, then you apologize and get right. It ain't like anybody's going anywhere.
Right. So, okay, once he said that, then what was your next step to finding a therapist? Like a lot of people are depressed, someone says something, but they don't necessarily know what to do next. What did you do next?
Well, the other influence in that was I do have an annual physical, and I have had for decades. And I encourage black men to
Go to
go to the
the doctor.
doctor.
Go to the doctor, please. We love y'all.
Well, I mean, once again, it's part of being a responsible man. There are people that are depending on you,
Hmm.
you know, and bottom line, your health is everything.
Listen, my dad had an annual physical, found out that he had an aggressive form of prostate cancer. They caught it early, they took it out, and it's been 10 years now that he's been living when he could have been gone if he had not gone to the doctor.
Exactly. And not God and not wanted to bend over,
Well,
cough or whatever. That's when they're checking for hernia. But yeah,
it's uncomfortable for some, but you should go.
what medical procedure is it? Please come on. No. But once again, I mean, you can do it with a blood test. I mean, in fact, I had my physical today, and my doctor told me that my blood test for a 70-year-old black male, you know, PSA was screaming proud of, you know, I was doing great. It was really good numbers, you know. So, um,
So then did you
you know,
ask
that's
him?
only one system that can fail. It's just this is why I haven't been out of the house because I check way too many pre-morbidity conditions.
Mm. Mm. So
Diabetic,
COVID.
high blood pressure, overweight. I mean, all Americans are. For most Americans are. What I said, blood pressure, black, 70. Listen, with the cases going up, the real issue, just as New Yorkers and other people know, is the hospitals being overwhelmed,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And they got to ration care. I do not want my black ass having somebody deciding whether I get on a ventilator or not. 70-year-old black man with 3 or 5 pre-existing conditions, my ass is dead. I mean, and if I was rational about it, I might make the same decision if it wasn't. Except, how are you going to make that decision about any human being? Because people have things to still contribute
Mm-hmm.
at whatever point in their life. They can make a decision to go, but nobody else should be making that decision
Right.
for them.
Well, this
So,
is the thing that's so troubling about this whole pandemic and people not taking it seriously is that people are medical professionals are forced to make these decisions. They simply don't have enough resources,
right,
enough room.
right, correct. They're being forced into it. But see, I can't control nobody else's behavior but mine. My goal is not to do anything that will put me in that situation, because I know I'm not dealt a winning hand in that situation.
Hmm.
This is why I haven't been out of the house. This is why I don't go hanging around folk. Right?
How has that affected you? Have you been just cool, like, all right, cool, I'm gonna be in the house, or have you had to find ways to keep yourself from going, from getting depressed, for example, for being in the house all the time?
Well, no, I haven't been depressed for being in the house. I'm probably a little bit of an introvert, which is why I'm not really strong on social media, because
Mm.
I enjoy myself by myself. Me can have a good time. I don't necessarily, But here's the thing: I've gotten to the point in my life now. Once again, I've been a productive person. I've raised family. I've saved money, etc., etc. But right now, I'm not working per se, or I'm self-employed. That's what I always tell people. Don't say you're unemployed. I always say you're self-employed. But I'm not doing anything that's generating income right now. Okay, I'm living off that stuff that I put away earlier on, by not having everything I wanted today. You know, uh, but forgot where I was going with that. Um, it'll come back.
I'm sure it'll come back. So you found your therapist through your primary physician?
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So my physician asked me about something, or I answered a questionnaire, and he recommended that I see somebody. That in
Were you like all
combination
for
with,
it?
I'm sorry.
Were you all for it, or was it like,
Well, that in combination with what my son told me, I think my son was home around Christmas, and I saw my doctor in March or something. And anyway, he made the referral, and I just started seeing somebody. So,
how has seeing a therapist changed your life?
well, I used to um, my whatever it is, human beings and the human spirit is a container, right? And it gets inputs stress, whatever, these inputs, right? And it has a capacity. And once the capacity is reached, it'll overflow, right? And when it overflows, normally that overflowing, depending on how tightly it's packed, it can be an eruption. Okay. My problem was I was always 3/4 full. So it only took a quarter.
To
Right. So that was the situation. Also, I had emotional issues that I addressed by eating. And this was probably a pattern from, childhood, set in me by the way I was fed. And, I was raised Dr. Spock, brother. Trust me, be thankful y'all were delivered from that a little bit. So, and to me, food always meant comfort, right? I really didn't drink, seriously or anything like that. So food was comfort. So I was addressing, and I didn't discover this. This was discovered through therapy. I was addressing my emotional needs through food. Now I'm overweight, but I'm not obese because I eat right. I just eat way too damn much of what I'm eating right. Skip dessert. Let's have a seconds. Yeah, this, I considered at the time, I don't go to buffets anymore, but it wasn't because of therapy. I had to give that up just for health reasons, because I considered a buffet a competitive sport. It was like, my goal was to get them to pay me to leave. I ate so much. So I didn't go in there. I'll tell you, one of the things that changed my life, I took my kids to Disney World, the obligatory middle class trip that you must do. Took my kids to Disney World, and we went to one of them southern, like, big boy restaurants that had a buffet. And the sign said, breakfast buffet, all you care to eat. That changed my life.
Oh, Lord.
Because I'm used to buffets that said, all you can eat. That's totally different framing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How my life was changed by a restaurant sign in Orlando, Florida. From that point on, that's how I looked at buffets.
Listen, it can be the smallest thing, but going back to like the therapy thing, the awareness is really what can change your life, because you become aware of all these things and all these ways maybe that you've harmed yourself, or maybe that you've harmed others. When that stuff started bubbling up for you, did you deal with guilt, shame? Were you regret? Did you have to make amends to some people?
No, for me, like I said, back to the eating as comfort, I was having bouts of vomiting for weeks at a time.
Weeks.
I would engorge. I would eat too much. I would binge, but I didn't recognize myself binging. You can only binge so much, and then you get too full. Right? And it's nowhere for it to go. So to address the discomfort, finger in the mouth, bring it up. And then once that started, it became cyclical, repetitive, and etc. And tried to address it medically, try to I mean, this went on for years. Hospitalized for it. Like I said, it would come and go. And through therapy, found out that it was an eating disorder, and uh, am able to recognize much earlier when I'm binging and address it before it gets to that critical point. Haven't been sick like that in probably over a year. That's been the biggest change. And I mean, that
Hmm.
used to be periodic. I mean, every 2 to 3 months that would happen, take me down for a couple of weeks. So that's been, see, I'm much happier now. I'm not such an emotional jumble. I'm able to recognize things further off before they get too close and they get overwhelming, you know. So you say, is there anybody I hurt? Is anybody I should apologize to? My wife.
Hmm.
She's been here. She's been the closest. She's
Hmm.
suffered the most. She's put up with it. I mean, I'm a tremendous joy to live with, and I'm a tremendous pain in the ass to live with too. You know, I have two questions. You know, why do you love me? And I can understand why you do. See, let me just, who you want to spend your life with, or you want somebody that you want to spend your life force making happy.
Hmm.
See, it's about what you can do for them.
Hmm.
Do you want, how much of your time, talent, and energy in your 24-hour day do you want to put toward making that person happy?
Hmm.
And see, that's big things, little things. You know, my wife has been drinking coffee, she says, since she's 5 years old. You know, that's what her family did. She's a coffee drinker every day. She drinks coffee. So, what did I do over time? I set her up the best coffee arrangement that I could. If you're going to do it every day, grind, go find a good source of beans, grind the beans freshly for each pot. Make sure you use filtered water. And then if I really want to do something special for her, I'll make her French press coffee. You know, I use a thermometer to make sure I hit the right brewing temperature and time it. I mean, in order to make, and she savors that. She enjoys that. That's great for her. Takes me a few minutes, but stuff like that. Cook whatever. I'm saying that's how much of your life force are you willing to expend on the other person? I heard a comedian or female comedian say, love is being willing to die for somebody and kill and wanting to kill the son of a bitch at the same time.
Now I wouldn't know nothing about that. I've not gotten to that stage yet, but I can believe it. I can believe it.
Yeah. Well, there's another one. Comedian. She's been married 3 times or something. She says, "You know it's time to leave when you walk in the bedroom and he's sleeping, and your first thought is, damn, you still breathing?" She said, "That's time to go."
Right. Right. All right. So you've had marriage, family, life. What would you say to another 70 or 70 plus year old Black man that needs to go to therapy, but is reticent, that is like, I don't want to be considered crazy because of what it was when you were younger, what would you say to them?
Well, number one, I say you are crazy. Go get some help. You know you crazy. You know
Hmm.
there's a bunch of shit you do and you haven't resolved and you don't understand why. I mean, you know it. There's no shame in it. The shame is not getting the help. The shame is being 70 and going to your fucking grave still being fucked up when you can get help. I hope that wasn't too raw.
No, we say fuck on the Damon Speak show all the time.
I mean, really, that's to me, that's
Mm.
you know, you want to be the best person that you can be, whatever that is, at the moment. And listen, you did the best you could with the information that you had. Now, when you didn't necessarily do your best all the time, but hey, there are a lot of situations and circumstances. You are where you are, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with you now, but you can be better,
Hmm.
right? For yourself and once again for the people you love. That's really what it's about. Because seriously, it is impossible to be black in America and not be crazy. It is impossible. Well, to be black in America and not have mental health issues. What they call mental health issues, I'm telling you, are our survival skills.
Mm.
We're not even allowed to be angry around certain folk. And anger is a natural response,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right?
We're not allowed to be angry without being perceived as a threat.
Well, you're perceived as a threat, period.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you you're tagged as emotional, but you're not allowed to be angry. What a contradiction. So, like I said, I would just say, there's no shame in it. The only shame, you shame yourself.
Mm-hmm.
People try to put shame on you. Trauma is real. That's true. Um, People will try to put shame on you, but really how much shame you feel is on you. I mean, the president of the United States is a good example. This man is shameless. I don't care what you say. He don't feel no shame. Now, there's somebody that needs therapy, but that's
That's a
that's for
whole
another
nother thing.
podcast for somebody else. Let's our professionals.
So you would say to other men 70 plus, go get some help. You crazy. Like a lot of times we know, or if you've gotten to 70 years old, you know some stuff. You know
Right.
when stuff is not right. And I would say to those children of those parents, it's okay to speak up. Like your son said to you, Dad, I think you should get this checked out.
Yeah, respectfully say it to say it that and listen, I was in sales for 40 plus years. And let me tell you something, when you're trying to convince somebody of something, always speak from their point of view,
Mm.
right? What's the benefit for them, right? My son told me, "You're not the guy you were." And I knew that. I was withdrawn. I was, living in a house with my wife, trying to alone.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not a good place to be. And there's no way you cannot have issues. Listen, when you're 70 years old and you're black in America, you did not, for the most part, you did not accomplish what you thought you could have. You know what I'm saying? There's not a black person in this country that does not think they would be would be further along if they were just treated fairly. That's all.
That's it. Just
There's
fair.
no black person that you can ask that question to. Would you be further along if you were treated family or fairly? That would say no to that. Because we all know of instances, real or imagined, where we haven't been treated fairly, and that's got to be for a 70-year-old black man, a black man. Man, listen, I came up in affirmative action. I was the first and the only breaking into corporate America. I'm sure I got there before the women did. They had to go through a lot of the same mess, racism, misogyny, whatever. I mean, it's easier for guys like you because guys like me broke through, but we didn't get mentored. We didn't get help. We got what we got. You did the best you could.
You didn't have a blueprint. You were making the blueprint.
Not only do you not have a blueprint, and here's a reality for black people in America. You live in a system that is aggressively hostile to your black ass. Living, acquiring wealth, passing on legacy. Aggressively hostile. State-sponsored hostility. We've been lynched. The minute you got something in the South, they took it from you. Talk to me. That's the real. How you not do? You're under a state of siege. And that's true of every black man. Whether you end up in the prison industrial complex because of poor education or some other way, higher up you go, it don't change. Just the words and the tactics and the details. We live in a hostile system. We're in a constant state of alert. And here's something I told my therapist. One of the things they say I have is, an anxiety disorder, right? And so I asked him today, or not the last time I talked to him, I said, explain anxiety disorder to me. I see it in my diagnosis. Does anxiety feed the disorder, or does the disorder feed the anxiety? Because I'm going to tell you what I'm anxious about right now. I said 71 million people voted for Donald Trump. 52% of white people, or 57% of white people voted for Donald Trump. Thank God for the 43% that didn't. But of the 57% that did, I know white people, a percentage of them are armed and heavily armed. There are more guns in America than people. And I also know a percentage of those armed white people are racists. And I live in a county that voted for Donald Trump. That's what I'm anxious about. Now, is that a disorder? He said that's reality.
Woo! That's where we're living. That's where we're living.
Now, he went on to mention, since he's white, that's not an issue. That's my reality. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't feel that way. But there's no reason he should. They ain't coming gunning for him. And my response to him is, you are privy to those conversations among your friends and relatives that I'm not. So you know how real my anxiety should or shouldn't be. Right? White supremacists and white folks, they're not talking around you and me and folks like us.
Mm-hmm.
They do that among themselves at family gatherings. And if folk don't challenge that, but they're around those conversations, you know, should I be nervous? I asked him, should I be nervous? These your relatives.
Mm.
You around these folk. Am I overblowing this?
Mm.
So go get help, Black folks, if you need it, because once again, just the times that we live in, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, how do you process that? The other thing that I tried to process, this isn't political. I've been struggling with retirement, right? I was retired. I didn't retire. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Generally, when there are cutbacks and cost savings and all of that, one of the first places they look at is at higher paid employees, right? So you get so that's been my situation. I was involuntarily um, removed from the workforce, um, and decided to, try to go into business for myself. Hey, Siobhan.
I love it. Normalize therapy in the Black community. Take away the stigma.
Well, what you have to do is provide access. There's no access. And there are very few therapists that look like me.
Absolutely. We just
And if since racism is a large part of our lives and our pathology, right? It's our COVID pandemic. When you're working with a white therapist, now there's some white therapists that are extremely culturally competent and can, navigate this space, but you have to explain things to them a lot of times that you wouldn't necessarily have to explain to a Black therapist. So, but the first thing you want to look for in a therapist or a doctor or a lawyer is not color, it's competence.
Mm.
And then we can add on the extras, but give me somebody competent 1st,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Yeah, let me say one other thing. I remember what I was going to say. I was retired, and then I had this. I read this somewhere. This guy said, I have nothing to do today and all day to do it. Think about that. I have nothing to do today.
And all day.
And all day to do it. Is that where you want to be in your life?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
I enjoy being active. I enjoy having something to do. That sounds boring. I would be bored out of my mind.
Let me add a word. I have nothing I have to do today.
Oh.
And all day to do it.
Okay, that's different. Now that's very different. That's very different. I have nothing I have to do. So that means I get to choose to do whatever I want.
And you got all day or nothing.
Or nothing if I desire.
And all day to do it. It took me a while to get comfortable with that. My reaction was initially was just like yours. For me, it was like, how could you wake up and not be productive? How could you not have a plan of what you were going to accomplish today? Oh my God, just on God's earth sucking air. You're not realizing your full potential, your dreams. All this. So you're not successful. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist as well, which doesn't help. So go eat something and solve that emotional pain, you know. But then I've got nothing I have to do today, and I got all day to do it. Whether for people that work, that are your age, that are in the race, I don't want to call it a rat race of making a living, that is foreign.
Absolutely.
And the problem is, after a career of working since I was 16 years old for $1 an hour, which was minimum wage at McDonald's, hamburgers were 15 cents too, till now, you are taught to always be busy and doing something. And if you're not going to, and cram all that you're going to do for you in the weekend, because the rest of the time's taken by the jobs, since people are side hustling and everything else now. I mean, how you going to deal with all of that and not be crazy?
And not be crazy and not deal with some issue.
Or not have mental health issues. I mean, I don't want to use crazy in a pejorative sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you're not healthy. And like I said, it's impacting those that you love. What, your children emulate you more from what they see than what you say. I was always 3/4 full, subject to erupt. I've noticed the same pattern of behavior in my daughter. I didn't tell her to go out, be hot-tempered, or you know what I'm saying, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Children watch you. So, and when you do stuff like that, it has an impact. So do it. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for the ones that you love.
Yeah.
And if you don't love nobody, you definitely need help, because you need to go find out how to love yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you don't have to be you don't have to brag about it. That you're getting help. I don't talk about my sessions with anybody. You know what I'm saying? I hope they can see the fruit.
Right.
Right? Hope they can see the fruit. And there's nothing wrong with seeking help, to have somebody guide you, point you in the direction. That's just studied something that you haven't, that can give you some context.
Mm-hmm.
And once you go, you'll get over any shame or embarrassment. I mean, therapists are professionals. They're supposed to know how to do that, right?
Right.
Make you at ease and whatever. And guess what? It's like anything else in life. If you don't think it's working, either change your therapist or stop. But you got to go into it honestly. You really have to want to help. You really have to want to help, right? And once again, the other thing is, you can look at it as a prophylactic, as a preventative. It's not necessarily to treat me because I have a serious mental health issue. I need something so I don't have a serious mental health issue. There's an issue that doesn't come out in an unhealthy way. So
That's real.
So I mean, and listen, if you're 70, you have Medicare, it don't cost nothing.
Go.
It's free.
Go.
Well, that's part A and part B or part C. You gotta not just straight Medicare. You need the other. They know what I'm talking about if they're over 70. Matter of fact, Bernard, you probably know what I'm talking about because this is enrollment period and the television is inundated with Medicare sign-up commercials.
Right.
The election stops and then we go into Medicare sign up. Jeez. So, but yeah, it's free. So there's nothing stopping you but you. Ask your primary care physician for a referral. Ask friends, family, whatever, But yeah, it's made a difference in my life. It's made a difference in my family's life. And even with the issues that I have, I'm better able to get along with them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I think that this was super important. Someone is going to see, I believe someone's going to see this that was like thinking that they weren't going to go, but they're going to see this and go to therapy and get help because you came on and you've been so open and honest and vulnerable. So thank you.
Thank you. And reaching out to your vast platform, check out what we're doing at moneysmartlife.org. It's
put it in the thing.
Financial. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is what do they call this? Unabashed, unashamed self-promotion.
moneysmartlife.org.
.org, right? That's our brand. You can also, we do a podcast. You can find it's takecontroltuesday.com. Now, listen, what we talk about is achieving sustainable financial well-being for working class families. How to be smart about your money. Check out the website. You'll find some in-depth information. We've got YouTube videos up too. Check out Money Smart Life. Listen, these are the YouTube videos and the Take Control Tuesday podcast. They're about 3 to 5 minutes. And we've been doing them for 5 years. Every one of them has a deliverable in it. So you get strategies, you get information, those kind of things. Check out, and then we animate those with YouTube. For example, we've got a series on understanding credit and credit scoring. Listen, everybody can have a good credit score. A subprime credit score, which means a credit score below 720 or so, will cost you tens of thousands of dollars over your life. Tens of thousands. You don't have to have bad credit. We tell you how to do it. Listen, I raised my credit score from the low 600s. I'm well in the 800s now.
Come on, well in the 800s?
Oh, easy. And brought my wife up too. There's no secret to it. Everybody can have good credit. Check out the website, moneysmartlife.org, and not just credit, but how to use your money. Because listen, we get money in, but do we use it smartly? And everybody's different. Financial well-being's different for everybody. But check it out, moneysmartlife.org.
moneysmartlife.org. Mansa Musa, thank you so much again for being on the show. Guys, check me out. I'll be here next Monday night at 8 p.m. with the Damon Speaks Show, episode 7. I look forward to seeing you guys then. Until then, you know what I always say, keep your head up.